You cut out. I
Regardless,
don't
it
know.
is time for our cult meeting, aka Wizard Wednesday. It is
Wizard
November. It is
Wednesday.
November 23rd, 2021, and it's Wizard Wednesday, guys. I'm back. I was out last week, but I'm back. And yeah, I've got like literally a million things to say. It was killing me last week not being able to talk to you guys, but Dota and Bear Snake and Loch Ness did an excellent job. And you know what? I think I'm just going to start with the thing that I loved the most about last Wednesday. Dota, you know what it is? My favorite thing
I
about
know what it
last
is.
Wednesday. Okay, Bear, what is it?
Pretty sure it has to do with the last few minutes, and
Yes.
it starts with an S.
Yes, and ends with an Aaron. We're talking about Sharon.
Yeah.
Sharon's story time. Oh
Oh,
my God, that was amazing.
so good.
Sharon,
It melted
yeah,
my
you're a
heart.
professional
Yeah.
storyteller, Sharon. It was like your voice, your story, like everything. I just loved everything about it. Um,
I wanted this. I wanted the children's book. Like my children are still at an age where I could read it to them and it would work. And so it's like we got to get it made. That'd be so fun.
yeah, yeah, and it just not only was it great and she was great, but it's one more wrinkle to the whole diversity of the cult. We I love how we have so many different voices in the cult, and Sharon is just like a whole new dimension of it. Dragons are in a video game, like your immediately impulse is to just overpower your character and make it as godlike as possible. But if you want to create a character that's relatable, that has humanity, yeah, you've got to build those weaknesses in. You've got to build those limitations in, because as humans, that's what we all have, and that's where our conflict comes from. That's where our stories come from. Um, even the most interesting gods in like in mythology, like Greek mythology, for example, even they had human flaws and made errors, and um, that's probably what made their stories so compelling, is that they had so much drama in their lives. So yeah, think about that when you're creating the lore for your wizards, and pretty much everybody I've seen is pretty much doing that. I think everybody understands this pretty well.
I think it gives it a touch. I think it gives it a touch, a bit of humility, something that we all can relate to. And unless you're like Jesus or something, But
Yeah.
No comment. No comment.
Right. Right.
Yeah. um, and then so okay, and then another obvious thing that's happening right now that's super fun that everybody's latched on to, like within the last hour, is of course the nouns, the wizard nouns.
The noun
Dota, how much do you
wizards.
love that?
Love
It's
them so
something
much.
that
They turned out better. Uh,
better than the original wizards. Yeah, just say it.
Wait, can we talk?
no,
Can we talk? Because
they're
this
just
is actually really
amazing.
important. This is actually really important. I think, Dota, do you think you can talk a little bit about sort of the genesis of this? Because I think we want more of this in our lives.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I don't know if you follow me on Twitter, but like I've been sort of like talking a lot to also be financially viable. What I mean is that like there's always something weird about the fact that like when someone creates a derivative artwork, how the original creator then now has to like go to the courts or something to try to like shut that down. When really what you just have is like a fan who loves something and they're like building on top of it, right? Like there's no reason that like Harry Potter fanfic should be illegal, right? There's no reason that sort of you should get DMCA's when you like do a derivative Mickey Mouse. Like this idea that you like really that these ideas exist as part of the lore and the stories of all of us is really an important part of what makes wizards. And I think it works for NFTs in general, right? Every punk mural makes punks more like larger than life. And I love this idea of having nouns wizards. So nouns is another project that thinks similarly. Nouns license is actually even looser than the current Wizards license. It's Creative Commons 0, so they have like almost no like rights withheld. And so we had the idea of like, oh, what if we created a nouns wizard? And Brad that painted all of these. I believe, I don't there were any other pixel artists that helped her with substance. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. And you know, we've of course loved Brad's and Brad's work from just like day one. And yeah, they put this together. The team put this together. So TV, along with Sorcerer Ilya and and Brad, all collaborated to recreate all of the heads, recreate all of the bodies, and they just are so charming. I believe Gremplin actually is one of the original artists for like the noun. I know the handful of people they are, and so it's really fun just to see how like iconic the nouns. You look at them, and you're like, oh, these look just like nouns, but at the same time, you see a wizard every single time, right? Like it doesn't look like any of the other nouns projects. So it's this merging of these like two iconic like I don't know, emerging universes, and I just love it.
Yeah, Brett or TV or O or SPZ, do you guys want to say anything about it? Because you guys are the ones who made it.
Yeah, I know you guys are here. Yeah, I'll let you guys come up and talk about it if anybody wants to ask to speak. But like, you know, one of the things, like, yeah, the coming up. One of the things I think is important is like if you look at how, for example, like Google works. The invention of Google, the PageRank invention of Google was this idea that that if a page is linked to by other pages on the internet, then that page must be important, right? If I'm looking up how like what is vitamin B and its uses or whatever, and the page that like basically the most pages on the internet linked to describing vitamin B is the most important page for learning that concept. And so similarly, you can think of that same idea around like, you know, I think that's just an important thing that the universe will sort of like relearn as NFTs become more popular. So, all right, anybody up here from the Nouns project that want to speak? Oh, Magus, Devin, you're already up. No, I don't think so. All right, Alf, why don't you just move on then?
Tiv came up. Tiv, do you have anything to say?
Oh, he got kicked off somehow.
Hold on, he requested one more time.
I can't invite him back. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, here he comes.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I just wanted to give some shout outs to everyone involved because it was a real collaborative effort.
I don't think we're connecting.
I can hear him.
Oh, yeah, I think maybe Dota has some connection issues from what I can tell.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, some shout outs to everyone involved. Yeah, Bread for the art. It's perfect. It's like exactly what you would want for wizards crossed with nouns. SPZ for development. O came up with the logo, the donut noun, and the lore. And then a handful of other people helped out in like reviewing or advising. There was my real life friend and now wizard, BVKSN. Chuck K helped on reviewing the site and the minting process, which made the minting process a lot smoother thanks to his feedback. Matatsuki, of course, was there advising and reviewing. Popular reviewed the contract for me and pointed out a potential issue, which I really appreciated. And then Pepe also reviewed the mint process and the contract. And Dota reviewed the contract, which was a nice peace of mind because it was the first contract I've deployed. So yeah, just a testament to like the Forgotten Runes universe and team that something like this is even like, first of all, even allowed. And then second of all, you know, encouraged and like ends up being a, you know, so welcomed by the team and the community is really cool. It's just, yeah, that's great. Oh, and also to clarify, it is TV, not TIV, because someone asked in the chat. But
okay, great.
not a big deal.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, like it was mind-boggling to me that Cool Cats issued a DMCA to someone who made like baby cats. Now, look, maybe I'm uninformed about what actually went down. The space moves fast. Maybe like whatever. Like, you know, someone explained to me that I'm wrong to think that they were wrong. But like, well, it's not that they were wrong. It's just that that's the choice that they would make. That they would want to shut that down, right? And I think I love noun wizards, and you know, I'm not trying to flood the market with sort of wizard NFTs, but I think really gas is the problem there, not kind of like dilution of the brand or anything. If someone wants to make baby wizards, like do it. It's so adorable and be amazing. And so like, you know, whatever. I think as tokenomics we have to digest it, but I really love that you guys did this, and so I think it looks so good.
Yep,
Yeah.
it's my favorite thing.
Also, just want to say thank you to everyone for claiming their noun wizard so far, and seeing all the profile pictures is super fun. So I'm really enjoying the response to it and getting to see everyone's.
And I think that this plays into two things too. Like one, two things I know Elf wants to talk about. One is around this idea of like how good that it was that we started with this very simple representation because we can scale it up in different ways. And then two, this idea of like what is the canon? Like what are the official Forgotten Runes? What does it mean to have like an official version of the universe? And so I don't know, Elf, if you want to talk a bit about those things.
Yeah, I've got so many things to say. So yeah, it does touch on both of these topics. You're right. One is this notion about how we started with very, very simple pixelized characters, as opposed to a more detailed hand-drawn illustration like you see with a lot of PFP projects. Um, and this is why I think we made the right choice, at least for us, for what we want to do. And so you can kind of think of it as like the wizards themselves are runes, okay? And we did a DZ Spaces in the very beginning, and I answered, "What is a rune? What are the runes?" And during that Spaces, I said, "A rune is an abstract symbol that represents a broader concept in the world. It's a simplified pictogram that speaks to a bit bigger thing." And the wizards NFTs are also very simplified pixel images on a 50 by 50 pixel square. And so, in a way, the wizards themselves are runes. They are simple symbols that speak to a larger thing. And we didn't make these wizards in the pixel style just because CryptoPunks did it and we wanted to copy them. Like, we had a very specific reason for doing so. We did it because we wanted to start with an ultra simple seed of an idea from which you can scale up infinitely. Because if you start with something really complex and you have to scale down for whatever reason, then you lose information and therefore you lose identity. And so, like, not to pick on Bored Apes, they're great, but like reducing a Bored Ape down to like a super simple pixel character that would walk around like in the Web3 metaverse we've been playing in lately, you might have to lose some of that information. But if you start super simple, then you can be in all the simple metas, or you can scale up infinitely, and you can scale in multiple directions. You can branch in infinite different ways. So I that's what I love about this project is just starting simple and scaling up infinitely. It's only additive instead of subtractive. It'll almost never be subtractive. It's always additive, which then allows every wizard holder to enrich their NFT in their own unique way. So that's what I mean by the wizards themselves are runes. And then I guess the second thing that this whole nouns thing is making me think of is like is this notion of canon and what canon actually means. If you don't know what that word means, it just means like what is the official story of something? What is the accepted official story? And this can be applied to like Star Wars or Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones. Like, what is the official story that those authors wrote about this particular franchise or whatever. But it can even also apply to human history itself in the IRL world. What is the official accepted narrative of any particular history? And as far as that goes, we like to think that we have an accurate model of the past. But there's always the question, do we really? Despite every brilliant historian's best efforts, do we really have an accurate model of the past? None of us can really say. And so the point is there's always this ambiguity about what is canon and what is not. And so, like, I know that Zayla Sol, for example, has been DMing me and asking me for a lot of information about what's information about the meta lore and what each like head represents and how do we classify and categorize them. And I keep telling him, and I've even told all of you, that I'm working on a master lore document, which I am, but it's taking me freaking forever. But I don't want Zayla Sol to have to wait on me to like write his version of the Forgotten Runes canon. And so I'm at a point where I'm thinking, like, I'm not sure what the official canon will ever be. I think it's better to just lean into this notion that maybe there is always going to be ambiguity about it, because there's ambiguity in every canon humanity has ever grappled with. So, and what's interesting about it is, like, the canon that usually rises to the top is either the canon that's either most compelling, the most aesthetically pleasing, or as they say in history, history is written by the victors. So I think as the canon of the Runiverse is being developed, it's going to be created by those who create the most compelling art and lore. And it's just going to be forever shaped and forever evolving, forever ambiguous and flexible, and it's going to be all of you that help shape it just as much as me or Dota or Bear Snake or Titmouse or anyone. So I think that's kind of the way we should embrace it for the time being.
I totally agree.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, all right, let's hop to ask questions in the secret tower time. So
cool.
We've got a couple of rapid fire questions we can handle, and we'll talk about it. Okay, timeline and process for affinities for the main collection in OpenSea. I would like to do this in December. I think that we have a first pass done already, but they're already kind of there are things that people care very deeply about with regards to affinity, and I want to make sure that I don't change it. And so, I'm going to try to do my best to kind of cross-reference affinity settings and the things that people care about. Sharkchild has been very helpful with me on that. That said, it's like a big deal to kind of add affinity numbers, and I want to make sure that everyone is happy with it. And then even once I get sort of that data lined up, I'm going to put it to a community vote before we even make that change. So yeah, it's a goal for December, but if it ends up being January, that's not something that I feel that we want to push out too fast. Someone says, I'd love to talk, Ethwave says, I'd love to talk about our awesome community wizard nouns, which we did, and also would love to hear about the animated show that you were cooking up. Yeah, Elf, would you like to address some of that?
Sure, yeah. Okay, let me just say, holy crap. I've been seeing some animated sequences. I've been sharing them with the team. I shared one yesterday that just blew my and the dilemma behind the scenes is like I want to share this immediately. I want to show everybody because this is so badass. But then I also want to like save some stuff for the official release. Because like I want, like, if we share too much, then it's not going to be as cool when we finally release it. But I want to. I don't know. There's like a science to I guess like marketing something and sharing things and just building the hype around a thing that's going to be released. and I don't know how to do it like the best way to do it. So I don't know. I mean, Dota and Bear, you guys also had like opinions on this.
Yeah, I think. Listen, I don't necessarily think there's a science to marketing. I think, especially in our space, it's a bit different. I think people, these projects, especially with our community, I feel like I feel like everybody, like our whole concept is like lifting up the curtain and showing people what's happening in process. And so I'm all for like oversharing, but I totally understand like the idea of everybody is seeing every single frame um, before the trailer drops, then maybe it's not as exciting. So I think we should continue sharing, but maybe keep a couple fun pieces that are brand new.
Yeah, I mean that's the question. I guess is like every time Titmouse gives me a little piece of art or animation, the question is this something we share now, or is this something we hold back? And it's so hard to like label each thing into one of those categories. My feeling at this point is like maybe we don't show anything that comes from the actual trailer, but we can show things like concept art, like the evolution of the kobold that I showed the other day. Like that specific art as it's shown is not going to be in the final piece, but it still shows the process, and it still gives a lot of fun hints about what's to come. um, to me that was like shareable content, but like this animated piece that I showed you guys the other day, I don't know, I feel like that needs to be held back until release. That's just me.
I don't know the answer. I think it's going to be evolving, and I think we'll feel strongly about certain things and not so strongly about others. And I don't think we're going to have a hard and fast rule, honestly.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, part of the challenge also is like this final piece is going to be like a minute 20 seconds, somewhere around there, and this animated piece is already like, I don't know, like 5 seconds. So if we show it, it's already like a huge chunk that's that's already been shared. um so I don't know, but yeah, to answer the original question, the animation is, it's going so well, it's going so well. I cannot freaking wait to show you guys.
I think it's going to sort of be a great first look at what a proper television show could look like for Wizards, and I think that's what gets me really excited about is the ability to tell long form storytelling. And I know that gets you excited too, Elf, and Dota and everybody.
Yep.
It's just a whole new medium. It's a whole different way of communicating. Right now we have the Book of Lore, which is probably the 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 best way to tell stories about our wizards. But this would be like a half an hour show where there's just dialogue and developing the world and characters and conflict and resolution, and that just gets me so excited. Talk about canon.
Yeah, it's like I just want to blurt out what this animated sequence I shared the other day was. I mean, it was just like mind-blowingly good.
But everybody should keep in mind that it's just six. It's like almost a minute and a half, so it's not like this long, massive piece. But it's action packed.
Yep, yep, yep.
Let's go next topic.
All right. Looks like Dota just joined. Okay, let me look at my list. Oh, I know a fun thing. Okay. Yeah, this is a fun thing coming up, and this is thanks to acrylic. I'm not sure if acrylic is in here. Acrylic, if you're in here, just request to speak because you kind of led the charge on this. But we are starting up a Dungeons and Dragons, I guess not necessarily campaign, but just a we're gonna start playing Dungeons and Dragons with everybody. And we did a test run last weekend with the core team,
It's
and
so great. It was so
yes,
great.
and Matatsuki slash Magus Devon of the Quantum Downs, he joined us. Um, it was so much fun. It was so much fun. I'm like kind of ashamed to admit, but that's the first time I ever played Dungeons and Dragons. Um, I've always wanted to play, honestly, but just nobody ever like invited me, I guess.
Oh, poor elf.
I know.
Oh,
But yeah, it was
One,
my first. Sorry, what's up, Magus? Did you have fun as well?
I had lots of fun, and I want to say, despite it being your first time, you're really great at acting out all of your moves and adding so much flair to everything. I
Yeah.
can't wait to see what you and what other people do with their wizards when they start when they do start doing D&D.
Yeah, no, I was having so much fun with it. You know, I'll give my impressions as a first timer. I'm sure a lot of you in the audience have played Dungeons and Dragons before, so I'm probably going to say a lot of naive things. But if you haven't played Dungeons and Dragons, it's the thing that like explained it for me really well. Our dungeon master, he said, he's like, imagine you're playing a video game, and the coders have like they have scripted all the battle and the actions and the story and the mechanics and this, I guess the CPU or whatever is handling all of that in a video game, but we don't have that. So the dungeon master is basically doing all of that for you. And then if there's of course the dice to like handle a lot of the outcomes, but what was really cool that light went on for me is unlike a video game, you can literally do anything you want when you're going on one of these adventures. So like I was like interrupting the dungeon master a lot, and like I would say, "Hey, I just stole something," or or like. Or like they gave us all like a bag of equipment, and I was always looking through my bag of equipment and trying to like think of creative things I could do with them. And I'll say this much: I destroyed like one of the main bosses with like nothing but a flask of oil and a candle. I set him on fire. And so you're really just limited by your imagination. But regardless, we want to start doing these with the rest of the cult. We're going to have sign up sheets. We're going to make it so you can actually be your wizard in these Dungeons and Dragons one shots. And yeah, I mean, Bear Snake, you were playing too. Did you? The funny thing about Bear Snake is every time he tried to do something from one roof to another, he got like a very bad roll and he would just fall off. Like he could not even jump onto roofs.
It was very, I'll say it's very upsetting because I see myself as somewhat of an athletic humanoid. And every time I would like describe me like jumping off of this roof to the next roof and like doing a backflip and like shooting some darts out of my hands. Like I would roll the dice and then I'd get like a 2. And,
Yeah.
and so the dungeon master would be like, well, so you tried to do all those things that you did, but you slip and you fall on your back and you hurt yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I think I learned that I don't sort of pontificate about like what awesome things are going to do until after I make a roll.
No, my favorite part was not only did you not make the jump, but you missed it and you hurt yourself. Like you did damage to yourself.
Hey, you know what? I thought that was kind of a little cheap, a cheap punch to me
Yeah,
from the dungeon master. I did
yeah.
not need to hurt myself.
Well, the 2 that you rolled would say otherwise, dude.
Okay, let's get back to the more important point. Can we
Yeah,
talk about where this
yeah,
is all headed, and everybody else can join in on the fun and make fun of me when
yeah,
yeah.
totally.
let's talk
Yeah,
about it.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
think
I wish.
the
Go ahead,
organization
Dodo.
will still have to like, yeah, for the organization, we will like figure that out, sign up sheets, catch demand. It's like 3 hours. So it's a bit of a time commitment. And then I think the more time the same people play, the more you like kind of depth you can have, especially because sometimes if you want to develop a character with your wizard, we've got some dungeon masters that, I believe we're going to be able to kind of like help them learn our lore and have them like people play as they're wizards, or at least within kind of like this universe at some point. I don't know if it's going to be the game one, but that's the direction that we're going, right? That you'll be able to sort of like play D&D as your wizard with wizards with people who kind of recognize the lore, and it should be just so fun. So we'll send out we'll organize this via Discord and get demand and kind of organize it that way.
Yep, yep, for sure.
I mean, I think the idea here is like we believe there's a huge crossover between the D&D community and our community. So maybe at some point we should like do some kind of Twitter vote or something because I think that's what we're thinking. That's what our inclination is. But would love to get some feedback from the group.
And I just think it's fun. We all hang out with each other in Discord like all day, and so it's fun to like have some weekends where we get to spend some FaceTime and have something to do.
The cool thing is somebody tweeted like months ago. I wish I remember who it was. They said Forgotten Runes is really just one big online game of D&D, and it's pretty. It's kind of true.
Yeah.
So like everybody in the cult is just gonna like really, I think, enjoy and understand the D&D one shots.
Right.
Zayla Soul, you got cut off when we disconnected. Did you want to say anything or?
No, I was thinking that you can just give us like 5 minutes of the trailer just to give us something to feed off of.
Right. The trailer is only 1 minute, so 5 minutes. You're gonna have to repeat.
No, 5 seconds. 5 seconds.
Yeah,
Oh
okay.
yeah.
Put it in a GIF or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We probably will as it gets closer.
Yeah. Another question we had along those lines. Someone said, "Oh, go ahead, Zale. So sorry."
Oh, sorry. Another thing I was thinking, this segues back to the collective world building as far as the lore. I don't think it's too much of a bad idea because this would be like a Darwinian space for ideas, like the strongest and ones that fit the whole lore, the whole puzzle of the thing we're trying to build will eventually get extrapolated upon, and you'll see in like more derivatives and comics and shit. Yeah.
Yep. That's exactly right.
I can't
Yep.
wait.
Yeah. There is a Darwinian feature to it all. It's just like the most compelling stuff rises to the top. Definitely.
Speaking of art, maybe we could talk about art of the week. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah. It's so hard to say like what's the I guess quote unquote art of the week.
I think
Well, not this week.
wearing it.
The art of the week this week is Bob the Braggart, who got another flame tattoo. I don't know if you guys saw. It's deep in the chat, but like I don't know. I think it's hard to beat a tattoo for art of the week. But there's a lot of art this week.
Yes. Well, I was going to mention, of course, Magus Wazir again, with an awesome with an awesome 3D character waving GM at
Legendary.
everybody.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
it's
good.
Magus Wazir. It's amazing. So yeah, it looks like it's a fully rigged character. So that I'm expecting more animation from this CG
Yeah,
character he made.
we talked about it internally. We're like, oh, should we give out like a pope or like a badge every week for like who does like the best wizard art of the week? And we're just like, we'll just be giving Magus Wazir like the award every week. Like, how many awards does one bell ringer need?
Yeah. Yeah, one thing about I'm looking at his CG model right now, and just one little detail that's standing out to me that I think is interesting is the original pixel art has the little green cape over one of the arms, but he built it so that it goes behind the full back, and I love this because it's like as I was saying earlier, the wizards, the original NFT is just a very simplified character, and then you can extrapolate, you can scale up infinitely, and you can totally take ownership of your wizard NFT and make little changes like that. You can change the cape, you can change all these little details as much as you want and make it your own, and he sort of did that with the cape. I know it's also hard to make a CG cape anyway because cloth is hard in CG, so maybe that's why he did it. um, but yeah, I love it. And then speaking of CG characters, there was another CG wizard. I'm going to pronounce the name wrong. Jose Canizares, maybe. He made the Gray Pilgrim. Do you know which one I'm talking about, Dota? Did we lose it?
Yeah, it was adorable.
Yep.
Adorable. I'm going to try to share these tweets while you talk through them. I'll try to share these tweets here in the chat.
Yeah. And the caption is he cute, wise, or both? Definitely both. Yeah, it's just a beautiful piece of CG artwork. Although it looks like this was commissioned, so I'm not sure who the original artist is. But it's so great. And then I'm scrolling through. I'm looking what else we've got. Magus Wazir also made some kind of a roguelike. It looks like the prototype to a roguelike game, or
Oh yeah, well, because that was with Legend Maps. So while you were away, not we all, but like I and a bunch of other wizards, we minted from this project Legend Maps, and they're super fun. They're these like ASCII art. They know about wizards, and in fact, if you look at their names, and it's like, it's like the stinky dungeon of the beholder or whatever, and it's like they're so fun and really good.
yeah,
So I think that's what that map is from, because they're building it as like a metaverse primitive, like we are, for like dungeons.
awesome. Yeah, that project looks super cool. I need to dig more into it, but I love the ASCII art style that they've got going.
I can send you one.
And then Chemical Imbalance did this hilarious little mushroom video with this amazing like chiptune music to it, and then it just like melts. So yeah, Chemical Imbalance has been doing a lot of really cool videos lately. And then Hen Boyd is he's drawing a full illustration of Sorcerer Hadrian, which is looking super cool. And I think he's got a baseball bat, which I do not remember putting baseball bats in the collection. But if you want your wizard to have a baseball bat, I think
I think they're in the world.
Yeah, I think you can do that.
Yeah.
Totally acceptable. Cool. Let's see.
All right. So another question that we had in the chat was, can you give an update on the game? And the update is we are inches away from closing that deal. I mean, without pressing on it too much, as we talked many times, we are just in love with our game developer. I have personally known them for a long time, and then I'm just impressed with their work. They have, so we are inches away from signing a deal with them. We were hoping to get it finished before the Thanksgiving holiday. We didn't quite make that deadline. But yeah, I think I'm not going to put a date on it because it's in the sort of like last inches phase, but we're very close. So that's exciting. They have shown us a few like screenshots and like mock-ups, and like, I don't know, not to overblow it, but like my jaw was on the floor. Like I was just like, couldn't. I looked at it and was like, oh, this is amazing. Like we're actually going to do a game. It's going to be incredible. So I don't know. I don't want to like press on it too much until we sign, but we're just very excited. It's like so close. Just bear with us.
Yeah, the only thing I'll add is just to underline what you're saying is like just seeing some of the stuff that they're sharing already. The gravity of what we are embarking on with them, I think really landed when we've started to see some of the stuff. It really it was intense in the best way possible. So excited to share it.
And it speaks to how great they are that like we don't even have a signed deal and they're already so excited about like, designing certain mechanics and interfaces, and it's they're already doing so much work on it. So
Yep. Yeah. One cool thing I'm noticing is like between World Wide Web, that meta, and then this current one is like every time the wizards go into a new meta, there's like little artistic flourishes that make them slightly different. So like World Wide Web put like a black outline around the wizards. Um, and then the art that I'm seeing from our game developer, they're like doing interesting things like putting a little bit of a gradient, putting like some glows and highlights on them. Um, and I'm just loving everything that I see. So yeah, I can't wait to share that stuff with you guys. It's so great.
And that said, that we're doing, of course, this like official Forgotten Runes metaverse. And one of the conversations that we've even had with the developers is just like, reminding them kind of the fact that every wizard holder, of course, owns the character and the representations of their character. They have a commercial right to use that character. And we've also provided all of the sprite sheets, for example, as like free like you can use them in other games, and that's what we saw with like Web3, for example, last week. And they are of course like on board with that, and so if you want to kind of use the sprite sheets with legend maps to build a dungeon crawler, that's still totally part of something that is like allowed and encouraged, and we're so thankful to have found a game developer that is like also not being that's not drawing, they're not pulling away from that either. Like they get kind of the openness and the creativity as part of our community's culture.
Yep. So I think we have a lore share from Give a Hoot today. Is that true?
Yes. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
How's it going?
Hi.
What's up?
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Are you ready?
I am. So, I mean, you started off the spaces with it, but like last week, I enjoyed Sharon's lore reading so much, but at the same time, I hated it because I'm like, oh my God, I have to go next. Like, are you kidding me? Like, so I'll try, I'm not going to be able to follow that up, but hey, I'll give it a shot.
Wizards are for everyone. We are excited to hear.
That's right.
So this is a unique lore reading because this actually isn't lore for a wizard, but actually a game that my team and I are developing that's set in the Forgotten Runes Runiverse. So, like a lot that happens in the Runiverse, I think everyone kind of starts with a story, So before I did any coding or mocking up or anything, I'm like, I kind of was like, what is this? Like, what's the origin story? And it kind of just came to me. So this is what I got. And I hope you all enjoy it. So the working title for the game is also called Runes. So this is the Runes lore. Although no one knows with certainty where the game was first played, Runes is a cordial practice that supposedly originates from the Tavern, a now infamous establishment that is tucked away in a remote brown hat village. While the Tavern today is more or less formally known as such, this is not a name it chose for itself, rather its patrons chose for it. For years and years, the Tavern didn't have a name, as it didn't need one, seeing as it is a place with no equal. Brown hatters from the region would just say the Tavern, and anyone who knew, knew. The Tavern is a simple structure with simple offerings, but all those who visit it can recognize its unique wonder, even if they can't quite articulate why. Long wooden tables that stretch across a large singular room, while obviously worn from years of service, somehow seem more well-equipped to perform than ever. The interior of the walls are decorated with weathered tools of various trades, as it is tradition for the tradesmen far and wide to retire their most prized possessions in this sacred place so they can energize the next generation of laborers. The bartenders, masters of friendly yet unassuming dance, are able to make all feel welcome, from the social butterflies to the distant recluse. And the beer. Oh, the beer. One sip of the house nectar and whatever ails you is cured. People have tried to replicate the recipe, as it isn't a secret, yet not one single attempt has been able to yield something as good. This is why one only need say the Tavern. And as for Runes, the story goes that the game finds its roots in the childhood game tic-tac-toe. One day, as some tavern goers were trying to make a row of three, a particularly happy player slammed a wooden disc down on the table and chipped an opponent's piece. To the inebriated, this action was obviously way more satisfying than a gentle placement of an item. So the game briefly transformed into a gauntlet of bashing and bludgeoning. But after one too many spilled pints and shattered mugs, the barkeeps decided to yet again evolve the game to keep the newly found fun, but lose the barbarism. And that is the birth of Runes as we know today. Now players strategically place cards on a grid, while only figuratively bashing and bludgeoning, with the goal of controlling the most cards by the end of the game. Since its inception, the world of Forgotten Runes has embraced Runes as its own, bringing it into bars and homes and other places of gathering all over. Regional, national, and international tournaments dubbed grandmasters and champions, some individual cards being more famous than kings and queens. Yet, it's something that wizards and non-wizards alike, of all ages, cultures, and hats, can enjoy. Lands far and wide have their own unique rules that they overlay on top of the foundational ones, some additions being tame and others quite imaginative. No rule or variation, however, causes the game to lose sight of its purpose. Players engage in a battle of wits, but more importantly, a bonding of souls. And there you go.
Dude, please tell me you're making this game in real life.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we're building it. It's
Yeah,
currently.
I love
This it's this might be a little premature. Like, we're just getting started, but I couldn't help myself. I am so excited about it. I'm like trying to be cautiously optimistic, but yeah. So
Wait, I just is this the game you were DMing me about the other day?
yes.
Oh, okay, okay, got it. I just made the connection.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, very nice. Yeah, this is cool. Yeah, because we usually get a piece of lore about a specific wizard, but like you
this.
gave lore about a place and a game. That's very cool.
Can you tell us a little bit about the game, or is it too early?
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, not to give, I won't go into any mechanics or anything just because I can't. I mean, not totally finalized, but yeah, it's going to be a game where it's going to be a card game, actually based off of a game that some people might know. I borrow a lot of mechanics from one of my favorite card games, and yeah, so the game's gonna be played with NFTs. So the cards are going to be NFTs. It's going to be all set in the Forgotten Runes, or it's going to set in, borrow, mesh with. I've been pinging Elf and actually pinging Zayla Soul a bunch because for this game, I thought it'd be really fun to start to kind of like think about what kind of creatures and people and beings and entities live in the Runiverse. And so I've been doing a lot of like, stuff there. So basically cards will borrow, be creatures and people and places from the Runiverse. And yeah, and one thing also, the community is amazing. And one thing that it kind of like drives home is that like the idea of like co-authoring an experience is such a powerful kind of concept.
Yep.
And it really shows through in Forgotten Runes. And so I want this game to be that because I love Magic the Gathering, played a ton. And
Mhm.
some of the like once you get past some of the mechanics and once you played for it enough, or maybe not, maybe it's what draws you initially, but like some of the most rewarding experiences are the flavor of the experiences, so like you
Yep.
build a deck build a deck that's super cohesive from a flavor and lore standpoint, and then you find the
Yep.
perfect sleeves for it, right? Or you like custom make the sleeves, and you have the perfect play mat for the deck, and like
Yep.
all of a sudden you have this like you're in a new world, right? You kind of have this cohesive experience,
Oh my.
and so I want that kind of same experience to exist in this game. So one of the things that I have first like forefront of my mind is, first of all, nail the mechanics, make sure it's like, I don't want it to be, it's not going to be the next Magic the Gathering. It's not going to be some like crazy complicated game. This will be super simple. It's going to be super fun, but also obviously a level of depth where it can be, enjoyable by a wide range of people. But then I really want it hammered. Like I really want to like dive into, like I want to allow for skins for the cards, right? So like we will release cards that have a certain art. But if you want to, create a derivative work of a card, you should be able to use that art in the game. And so basically, finding a way to basically mint derivatives as an NFT collection and allow substitutions of art, and then also not only just the cards, but like the backgrounds as well, right? So like if you align yourself with like with the Blue Wizard Bastion, you should be able to make the background of your table like in the game, like from a tower in the Blue Wizard Bastion or something, so like, and kind of like allow, and then allow for that entire cohesive experience to exist in this game, because I think that's what Wizards are all about, right? Like I want the
Yep.
game, like you come for the game, but stay for the community and for the lore and for the story,
I know exactly what you're talking about. That when you talked about building card decks and Magic, like
Mm-hmm.
part of it was not okay. Whenever I would build my decks, it wasn't so much I wanted like a mechanically effective deck. I would always like do theme first. So like if I was building a black deck and I wanted it to have vampires in it, I would
Mm-hmm.
just use all the vampires I had, even if they didn't really make sense for the mechanics of the deck. Because like you got to have the theme and the story in it, even if it's not like the strongest deck. I just couldn't resist.
Yep.
You
Yep.
know,
No,
and
100%. Yeah.
And then I just want to tell everybody, Givahoot's been DMing me about this, and he's created a lot of like new creatures. And I don't know if you want to leak any of the creatures you've built, but the goat that you mentioned the other day, do you want to talk about that one?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've just been having a fun time. I mean, also shout out to Zayla Soul, who like has like a lot of this stuff mapped out and makes it really, really easy for someone to kind of approach filling in some of like, you know, obviously like painting with very, very, very broad strokes, right? But like then makes it really easy to kind of paint with a bit more finer strokes. But yeah, so I've just been, you know, just ruminating on different creatures, and so one creature, I'll read a few actually, because they're kind of fun. If we have a few more
Yep.
minutes,
Yep.
one I thought up was the null goat. So
Yes.
null goats. Native to Battle Mage Mountains, null goats are a species of goat that have developed magic-resistant skull and horns in order to fend off magic users that hunt in the mountains. Shepherds who also inhabit the area have begun domesticating animals, as they are fiercely loyal and excellent sentries. And so that's the null goat. And then I told like as I was thinking through the creature, I was like, I'm just imagining this like scene in my head where like this mage is standing there and this goat is charging at him, and then also like shoots a magic arrow at the goat, just dings off the horns, and the wizard's like, oh fuck,
and then just keeps charging.
Exactly. And then all of a sudden you get like the you know, Team Rocket kind of like the person
Yeah.
just like blasting up into the sky or whatever. So so that was the null goat.
Yep.
Let me see. Another one. So yeah, the chronomere. So chronomeres are furry little creatures that live around places in the land of forgotten runes where time and space warp. They have an acute sense of this boundary and where the lines start to blur, and cross this boundary as a means to escape predators. This means that they are often not seen around popular civilization, aside from Chronomancer's Riviera, where enough chronomancers gather to give them safe haven. So
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
just fun little blurbs like that, just to kind of like, you know, start to fill things in and kind of just have some fun with it. So I don't know.
Love it.
I've been having a blast.
Love it.
Yeah, no, I'm so glad you're making up your own creatures rather than just like feeling like you have to stick to what's already in the collection. Yeah, it's great. You know, if you look at if you ever go down down the rabbit hole of like the Star Wars Wikipedia, like there's just so many aliens and creatures and planets. And I used to think, how the hell did George Lucas create all this? But then I realized, like, I bet George Lucas didn't create all this. It was like all the artists at the Light and Magic Studio. Is that what it's called? Bear Snake, whatever. I don't think
is what called
the George Lucas Studio that there's like a word for it.
Skywalker.
No, not Skywalker Ranch. Like Light and Magic something.
Oh, Industrial Light and Magic. Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
That's it. Yeah, my guess is like all the artists at that studio helped just fill out the whole lore of Star Wars.
They're making anime Star Wars now. You know, they have all these different just branches of the world. Or the universe. So I think that's where we're headed. This is exactly what needs to keep happening.
For sure. So yeah, so like, it doesn't just have to be our core team that creates this stuff. Like all of you are like the industrial light and magic. And so give a hoot, like you're like straight up making creatures that live in the Runiverse. So like keep going, man.
Thanks. And kudos to you guys who just make it so easy and are encouraged, right? Like I mean, I think it should not it doesn't go unnoticed amongst the community by any means, but thank you for, being so open and giving everyone this kind of creative platform. It's kind of amazing.
Awesome.
Do you mind if I like talk about the World Builder server real quick?